Thank you for tuning in for another all-new edition of MeAndMineTv right here on YouTube. The only automobile enthusiast channel on YouTube that you, the fans, control. I am your host, DV. You can follow myself and the show at the Twitter handle showed on your screen. And if you follow, we follow back. And what we're going to do today is we're going to test and review the 2015 BMW X5. And since we have it sitting out here right now, let's go ahead and talk about the styling. Checking out the exterior of the 2015 BMW X5, I have to say first off, it is a beautiful looking truck. It is by no means a showstopper, but it is gorgeous nonetheless. Because out of all the luxury SUVs that populate this planet, in my humble opinion, the BMW X5 comes in number 3. Number 2 belongs to the Mercedes-Benz G500, and number 1 belongs to the Mercedes-Benz GL550. And what we have here is basically the base model. So we don't have the upgraded front fascia. We don't have the upgraded rims, tires, size, and rears. We don't have that. But me personally, even as a base model X5, it is still a beautiful looking truck, because what you see is basically an updated and refreshed look for 2014, 2015 than the previous model. And the previous model X5 has nothing compared to this one, because this one is another example why Germany is one of the best countries in the world for producing very beautiful looking vehicles. Now, me personally, I do have a couple complaints about this car. First off, it's the color. Now, it looks okay in white, but it doesn't do the truck very much justice. I would love to see it in maybe like a black or a silver, something that could show off its aggressive lines and its beautiful curves. Second thing that would have to go is, of course, these rims. Now, I understand that this is a base model. We don't have anything fancy. We don't have chrome. We don't have none of that. We just have the standard 18-inch aluminum wheels. But other than the color, other than the rims, this is a perfect example of a beautiful looking truck. But instead of talking about it from the outside, let's go ahead and hop in the truck, go for a little ride, talk about the interior, and do exactly what it is that we do here on MeAndMineTv. And that's strap in, strap up. Come on, let's go for another ride. So here we are. We're now in the interior of the BMW X5, and at first glance, getting a look at everything, trying to get a sense and feel for what I should expect. I guess after driving the BMW 5 Series and the BMW 3 Series, I guess I've become accustomed to what I should expect from the interior of any BMW vehicle. Now, I normally don't start off with complaints, but in this vehicle, I think I feel I must. First impressions of this car, these seats are incredibly uncomfortable, because like I said, I'm 6'2", 250, and in a truck this size, you would expect the seating arrangement and the seats that you actually sit on to be kind of comfortable. And I say that because these seats feel like rocks. I mean, there's no give, there's no take, there's very little support in the lumbar area. There's no support in the seat cushion that you actually sit on. And, you know, I've only been in this truck for like 2 minutes now, and I'm already starting to complain about how uncomfortable it is. My second complaint, now, I used to install leather interiors and sunroofs in cars before I started driving the truck, and I know the difference between real leather, imitation leather, and pleather. And I'm sorry, but the leather that is in this truck is cheap. It's poorly made, it's poorly put together, and it's poorly stitched. Now, I wish I could show you what I'm talking about, but I would actually have to stop to get out. And matter of fact, I probably will do that anyway, because as I said, these seats are just so freaking uncomfortable. But for a truck that's base priced starting at dang near 60 grand, you would expect that everything they put in this car that's not plastic, whether it's wood, like the wood that's here on the dashboard and every other BMW that I've tested, or the seats that you sit on, you would expect them to be real wood, which this is not, and real leather, which this is not. I mean, this pebble rock imitation leather is not what I'm paying for if I was to buy this truck. My third complaint about this truck so far is this little center console display screen here. Now, I said it with the Mercedes that we tested, the both BMWs that we tested, that the screens are okay. They really are, but they're so freaking complicated, right? And this screen has to be dang near probably like 10 inches, if not bigger. Why is it not touchscreen? I mean, if I'm paying, again, close to 60 grand for a base price X5, can you give me a touchscreen? I mean, is that too much to ask? But other than that, everything else looks pretty well put together. I love the dashboard. It's very reminiscent of many BMWs that they make. All you really got is a fuel gauge, an RPM, a speedometer, and a fuel gauge. I mean, and a temp gauge. There's nothing overly thought. It's very simplistic and easy to understand. This steering wheel I am absolutely in love with. Now, if you've been watching these series that I've been putting out so far, you know that I do not like a complicated steering wheel. And this steering wheel is not complicated. Yes, you do have 9 buttons, but they're really, really simple to figure out. You got the cruise on the left, and you got the entertainment on the right. That's it. It's not overly thought, and it's not overly complicated. Now, me personally, when it comes to any BMW's vehicles, I do not like this little gear lever here, because it took me a good 5 minutes just to figure out how to take this car out of gear. And if you watch both BMW episodes, you see that I've done the same thing, because I'm just normally used to just putting my foot to the floor, taking it out of gear, and putting it in gear. But this one, it's not that complicated. And again, just like the 5 Series that we tested, this truck has a sport and a comfort button. Now, we're in comfort right now, and I'm still waiting to fill it because I have yet to fill it. Sport, we're in a very, very heavy truck. What exactly are we trying to be sporty here about? I mean, we're not trying to be like, you know, Porsche Cayenne GTS or a GL63 or a BMW X5M. I mean, this is really, really the plain Jane base model for the BMW. What exactly are we going to do with the sport button? But other than that, the interior is pretty good. I do have to admit, other than the screen, other than the fake leather, it's really quite good. I am obsessed with the sunroof, just like I was obsessed with the one that was in the 5 Series. You have plenty amount of space in this truck to fit 4 nice-sized people extremely comfortable. Now, they will have the space to be comfortable, but I'm not so sure if these seats will be as comfortable as one would expect them to be. But so far in the interior, yes, I do have to admit, other than those 3 fonts, the BMW X5 is doing pretty well so far. You know, getting a feel for the BMW X5, just cruising around here in the back roads of Atlanta, you know, taking a break from filming and trying to get my mind wrapped around exactly what this truck is. You know, when people see this truck, when they're just passing by, most likely they would say that is a big truck, which most luxury SUVs are. But truth be told, maneuvering this truck around, you know, nice, slow, tight turns, or just making everyday left, right-hand turns from streets, the truck really doesn't feel its size. I mean, it actually feels smaller than what it is, because I'm so used to being in trucks, you know, taking them extremely wide, just because, again, you know, they're trucks and they're SUVs. But this, you really don't have to do it. This thing will negotiate a nice, slow, tight turn very easily. Now, I do have one pro and I do have one con, and they're both really one and the same. The pro for this truck is the steering in this truck is really, really light. I mean, it does not take any great amount of strength to negotiate a turn in this truck. I mean, the steering is really, really nice and light, something that you would expect in like a supercar, not a, you know, 5,000 plus pound SUV. But the con is also that the steering is so light that it doesn't really give you a connected feel to the truck, because all you have to do is take your finger here and the truck will just jerk over. It's so light that you really have to be paying attention to the amount of steering that you're giving the truck, or else, especially if it's wet outside, you might slide, you might hydroplane, or you might just negotiate a normal turn you've taken so many times that you know, just got it down to muscle memory, and you might pop a curb or run over something that you weren't intending to. But getting a feel for the ride, especially on these nice roads here on Georgia 85, you can't feel nothing. I mean, the truck's suspension, I won't go to the lengths of saying that it's extremely firm, but it's solid, but it has a hint and taste of supple to it. And I like the way this thing rides. Again, I don't like the seats. I'm not as extremely comfortable as I would like, but the ride quality of this truck is very, very well. The sound deafening of this truck is very, very good. You don't have any tire roar. You don't have a loud, obnoxious rambling of street noise. All I can basically hear now is just me talking, and of course the air conditioner blowing. Other than that, the outside is completely muted, and I'm liking that. You know, it rides good. We haven't got to see how this truck handles yet, even though I know it's not built for, you know, speed and performance, but we will still see what this truck feels like in tight turns, tight fast turns, and the turns that we've taken a lot of the cars and trucks that we've tested so far. But just getting a feel for the truck here on just the nice roads here on Georgia 85, the back part of Atlanta, I do have to admit, the BMW X5 is doing pretty well. Well, unfortunately, we have some rain clouds coming through Atlanta, as you can see, because everything has gotten darkened. The situation here has quickly deteriorated from good to just flat out bad, so I don't know how hard I can drive this truck anymore because it's about to start pouring here. But when it comes to the performance department of the 2015 BMW X5, it's not a beast by any stretch of the imagination, but for a truck its size, grossing dang near over 4,700 pounds, what do we have here? We have a inline six turbocharged engine putting out 300 horses and 300 pound-feet of torque. Now, this thing is not going to batter you quickly to 0 to 60 in like under 5 seconds, but it's still pretty quick and it's still agile for a truck of its size. Now, one thing I have to give praise to, like I think I've given praise to both the BMW 5 Series and the BMW 3 Series that we tested, the transmission in this truck is pretty damn good, and I'm starting to fall in love with BMW's transmissions, because one thing I like about this truck, of course it's an automatic, but you get also the option for if you want to drive it, you know, in manual mode. But normally when you're in any type of car, you floor the gas, the car rev up to, I don't know, maybe like 3,000, 4,000 RPM, and then it'll shift into the next gear. Not this truck. This truck will rev all the way to its 7,000 RPM red line and then shift. The exhaust note out of this truck is muscle carish. It's not obnoxious, but it is loud and you can't hear it. It's very aggressive. It's very nice. But rather than me sitting here continuing to talk about how much power this has, how it sounds, and how it feels, why don't we go ahead and take this truck over to the roads that we took the Camaro, the Challenger, and the Mustang through to see how this buddy really feels when you throw up some corners. So now we're going to get into the handling department of the 2015 BMW X5. Now, again, I know this truck is not built for speed, it's not built for handling, but we are going to see how this big old 4,700 pound truck feels like when you sew it some tight turns. And you know what roads we're talking about, because I'm about to take it on the same roads we took the Mustang, the Camaro, the Challenger, and we're going to see what this BMW X5 can do when you show us some corners. I'll put that thing in manual mode. Here we go. Oh, Mr. BMW X5, please don't kill me. Dang, it's hugging the corners. It is hugging these corners. Brakes feel nice and good. Ooh, understeer showing this ugly head. Man, but that inline six is putting down the power. Already at 75 miles an hour. Take it over the turn. See what she can get more understeer. Yep. Yeah, this truck cannot handle its weight. Still feels good though. Still giving you a nice amount of fun, but it's definitely, as you can already tell, not meant for this. But it still feels actually pretty good. Understeer is rearing its ugly head all the way through these roads, but not to the point where it's scaring you. It's just to the point of, hey, I'm not meant for this, slow it down, you know, take your Looney Tunes hat off. But man, I have to admit, this is feeling pretty good. Oh, not a car, damn you. Okay, I gotta slow it down here. But man, now, well, actually, we're coming to the end of it now. That was actually pretty fun. I mean, understeer was there during the whole drive. You know, I could tell going into the corner that instead of pulling me through it, it was pushing me into it. And, you know, it was fun, but again, you know, this truck is not meant for that. That was just for me to have a little fun while I'm, you know, testing something that is not meant to do and meant to drive like I like to drive. But it held its weight. I mean, the acceleration was there when I needed it. The brakes were nice and firm. This transmission that we got here with the manual transmission, pretty damn good. Just like I said about the BMW 5 Series, although that was a base model, the transmission was good. Same with this one. It's pretty damn good. And now we're about to take it over to the tight S-turn that we've taken the Mustang, the Camaro, and the Challenger through. Just one more time just to have some fun. So here we are, about to come up to the tight S-turn that we've taken the Mustang, the Camaro, and the Dodge Challenger through to just have some more fun. I know this exercise is completely worthless and completely pointless because this truck is not meant for this, but hell, I want to have some fun. You know, I'm going to put my Looney Tunes hat on here for a few moments. Just have some fun, because that's what it's about. I got traffic in front of me, so I'm trying to slow down to give them adequate space to get in front of me so I won't run up on them when I'm going through this turn at 100 miles an hour. Come on. Come on, disappear, disappear. Let's go. Here we go. Entering the turn, 50 miles an hour. Oh, there's that understeer. There's that understeer. Ooh. Yes. Oh, I hear that tire screeching. Oh, yes, yes. Pointless. I know. Completely pointless. I know. But still, that was fun. That was fun. Understeer was rearing its ugly head even harder through that tight S-turn than it did when we were going through the turns that we just went through. And, you know, the tires were squeaking. I was on the limit of grip, I can tell, just by the way the truck was drifting. But hey, I know that exercise was pointless. But you know what? It was fun. And that's what we're meant to do in our vehicles, is have fun. Now, we've talked about the power. We've talked about the handling, talked about the interior, and talked about how this truck drives on the country roads. With a few hours of daylight that we have left, let's take this baby on the highway, the big boy road, see what she's got. Now that we've been on the highway here on I-75 in Atlanta for about, what's it been, 25 minutes now, I've gotten a good feel for what the BMW X5 is. Now, I know when I was driving it on the country roads how I said that the suspension was a little bit on the firm side, but it was still a comfortable ride. Now that we're here on the highway doing 70 miles an hour, 1,800 RPM, the ride actually feels better on the highway than it does on just normal, you know, city country roads. Because here, the BMW X5 is soaking up these indentations and potholes and rivets like it isn't nothing. Because anybody who either lives in Atlanta or has driven through Atlanta knows that I-75 is really not the best maintained road on the planet. But the BMW X5 is just soaking it up like it ain't nothing to it. In the cabin, it's nice and quiet. You really don't have that abundance of outside noise, you know, coming through the car. The tire noise on the road is basically damn near silent. And I have to say this again, because I know I said it during when I was talking about the country road driving. The BMW X5 doesn't feel its size. It feels like I'm driving like the Dodge Challenger. That's exactly what this truck, I should say, feels like. It doesn't feel big. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel as wide. It doesn't feel as enormous as it looks on the outside. And being a person who likes to drive a little crazy, being a person who likes to drive a little hard, that actually comes into play, and it comes into play pretty well. And the steering, I have to say, is nice and light, like I said when I was driving it in the country roads, but especially here now that we're doing it at highway speeds, doing 70 miles an hour. You got to be a little careful with your steering inputs, because like I said, since the steering is so freaking light, you can just twitch something and the car will just go whichever way that you go in a violent fashion. But cruising here on the highway, like I said, at 70 miles an hour, the BMW X5 is definitely at its home. And I can definitely say, it's probably a very good long-distance cruiser. So in the highway department with the BMW X5, I would have to give it an A. Not an A-, not an A+, just a decent A, because it's good, but it can be better. So how do we sum up our time here in the 2015 BMW X5? I guess I'll go ahead and start with the pros. First thing, it's a BMW, so it's a win right there. It looks pretty good. It drives pretty good. It feels pretty good. And I have to admit, after driving the BMW 5 Series, the BMW 3 Series, and now the BMW X5, BMW is, without a doubt, starting to make me turn to the dark side of luxury vehicles, because when I first started the four-door sedan competition, I said that I was a Mercedes man, and I still am. And my impressions and thoughts and opinions of BMWs were made nothing more than by me sitting in the passenger seat and what I've either heard people say or read of people who review their vehicles. But I have to admit, their vehicles are pretty damn good. Being in the driver's seat, I do have to admit, the 5 Series, the 3 Series, and now the BMW X5, they are all fun vehicles. And as I said in the Camaro and the Challenger review, isn't that what we buy our vehicles for? It doesn't matter if it's a car or truck or whatever. It's built for us to have fun. And me driving this car in the 3 hours that I've had it, I've had fun driving it. Now, yes, I've had fun. Yes, I pretty much like it. But again, this truck is not without its faults. And the major fault for me, and I would say for any driver of any car, it's these seats. They are not comfortable by any stretch of the imagination. It's like, I've been driving this thing for what, 3.5, 4 hours now, and it feels like I'm sitting on a rock. And, you know, with that being said, if I'm dropping 60 grand for a base model X5, can you give me some real leather? Is that too much to ask from your BMW? Because like I said before, I installed leather. You know, I know what's real, fake, and somewhat in between. And this right here is somewhat in between. And being a car fan, that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because BMWs are held in this high regard, and they, oh yeah, we're the ultimate driving machine. If you're the ultimate driving machine, give me ultimate throughout the entire vehicle, not just with the suspension, the engine, or the performance. Give me ultimate throughout the entire, what do you want to say, the entirety of the vehicle. Because if you're driving, you want to be comfortable. I'm not. If you're dropping 60 grand for a vehicle, you want real leather. This is not. And other than the seats being uncomfortable, the seats not being real leather, and the center console of all German cars being so freaking difficult to navigate through, understand, and comprehend, other than that, I do have to admit, the BMW X5 is pretty damn good. And if someone was to ask me, would I recommend this for someone to buy? Yes, I would. And that really depends on what kind of driver you are. If you're a driver like me, I would honestly and wholeheartedly say go ahead and buy the top of the line BMW X5. But if you're just a regular everyday person, you know, you want a nice truck to haul your family in, or you just want like a nice status symbol that's gonna give you some performance, give you some style, and give you some comfort, oh yes, I would definitely tell you to buy a BMW X5. Now that's all we have for today here on MeAndMineTv. Join us next week for another trip down Automobile Enthusiast Heaven. And until then, always remember, when it's safe and legal to do so, to pop the clutch